A new survey has come out that GLP-1 users are costing grocery stores and food manufacturers big bucks. Now, what does that mean? Basically, a new survey has shown that households with at least one GLP user cut their grocery spending by approximately 6% within the start of taking this new medication.
Man.
Now, 6% may not sound like much, but they have shown that the impact is even more pronounced for those that have higher income. So that was a whole bunch of jumble, but what does that actually mean? So they're saying that the average household that has a GLP-1 user spends an average of $416 less. And if you make over $125,000, you are now spending $690 less at the grocery store. And if you
Wow.
think of how trendy and popular GLP-1 medications are for weight loss, this could add up to huge dollars. And especially when you take into account the areas that people are not buying in. So
Yeah.
this data showed that the largest drop in purchases were for calorie dense processed items, and particular savory snacks. Okay. Because when you think about it, if you happen to be overweight or obese, you're going to be eating items like chips, baked goods, sides, snacks, cookies, and those are the areas that saw a reduction of anywhere from 7 to 11% in sales. That's
Wow.
insane. It is currently estimated that there are nearly 15 million people just in the US currently taking some form of a GLP-1 medication.
Oh,
So
wow.
when those 15 million, because I want to say it's 307 million people in the US, I mean, it's a nice chunk. And if
That's a
they are
lot.
changing the foods that they consume, they are now going to affect the food supply for everyone else, which is why we're seeing a lot of these food companies start changing the way they sell and how they market their products. Nestle came out with Vital Pursuits. It's a frozen food line specifically for GLP-1 users. It's low in calories, it's high in protein. There's other places. What was it? Nestle. They make Hot Pockets and DiGiorno, which you would think of as processed foods. Well,
Yeah.
they're launching a pre-meal drink under their Boost brand, and it's to help customers suppress their hunger and create a feel of being full for longer,
Huh.
which is right up there with the whole GLP-1 medication. The Vital Pursuits was done by Nestle. Oh, Conagra Foods. They offer healthy choice frozen foods, and they're basically redoing their packaging to show like a big badge that shows that this item is GL1, ugh, I can't talk, GLP-1 friendly. Now, it's not all the healthy choice options, but I think it's like 26 of them that will have that badge, but you'll have to keep an eye out because some of them are not GLP-1 friendly. But here's the part that really scares me, okay? Morgan Stanley analysts are forecasting that the global market for obesity drugs, which is Ozempic, Wegovy, will reach $105 billion by
Wow.
2040. So in 5 years,
2030.
$105
2030.
billion.
I'm not
Now,
even remotely surprised.
so these drugs have become extremely popular in the last 2 years. Okay. So they're kind of at the beginning of their trend cycle, if you think about it. And the problem is we don't have a whole lot of information as far as the long term effects. There's been a lot of reports of short term effects, you know, thinning hair. There's been people that have like gotten very like tummy sick, like literally it caused lots of digestive problems. I read a study recently that showed that taking certain GLP-1 medications, it upped your risk for different eye bacterias that could actually lead to blindness. There's not a lot of long-term studies yet because they haven't been out on the market that long. And so unfortunately, when you take these types of drugs, once you stop taking them, you don't go back to where you started. Like it's almost like taking hormones where like your body is changed and
Mm.
it does not react the same way anymore. It's not like you're just popping Advil. This is something that is changing the way that your body works.
And actually, in fact, I had read an article on AP. This was probably towards like August, September. That people were taking the drugs for a short period of time, losing weight, and then finding like there's an adjustment period at the beginning for you to like adjust side effects and stuff like that. And then people were coming off of the drugs and then realizing that all the things that they had changed, like, the hunger pains, the cravings for things, all of that actually came back stronger than
Yeah.
prior to being on the drug. And so, like, they've been telling people, like, look, once you go on this drug, the anticipation is you stay on this drug, which is wild, which basically turns everyone who's on it into a test subject because it's only been tested in short range. So that scares the hell out of me. Like, I know a few people who have been on it, and like I I can I kind of get it in that, like, especially if you've had difficulty with your weight your entire life and you have struggled with making, proper choices because of food noise that you didn't realize was an issue until it was no longer there. So, like, I see why people turn to these, but it's scary just not knowing enough about them.
Well, and it's almost very similar to like a hormone therapy. Like if
Mhm.
you were like if you had a hysterectomy and you are not really old enough to go through a menopause, you take hormone replacement therapy to basically hold off menopause until you're about the right age. And
Right,
so with these GLP-1 drugs, they're meant for people that are diabetic. You can't cure diabetes in most cases, so it is kind of a maintenance drug that you will take the rest of your life. So because they noticed that weight loss was a very common side effect, they then became a market for a weight loss drug, but that was never their intention. And I don't
right,
think anybody would knowingly say you have 50 or 100 pounds to lose. Well, in order to lose that weight, are you willing to then go on a drug for the rest of your life? That could be
right.
60 years.
I think it
And
was actually
then
used off label. Like, people started requesting it. It wasn't marketed that way, but
and
it
in fact it went almost viral to where people who are taking it because they're diabetic could not get it because there
right,
was so many people trying to get it for weight loss, so almost like a cosmetic use versus like an actual need use.
yeah, yeah,
And I feel like once again it's the selling the easy choice, but people don't seem to understand that it's very similar to the medication that people took like in the 70s to stop drinking, and where it
oh
would
yeah,
make alcohol like if you had alcohol it'd make you very sick. Or if you remember Wellbutrin was
mhm.
it was like an antidepressant, but people that took the antidepressant were actually quitting smoking, so they started offering it as a smoke cessation medication. And people who were not depressed who took the medication now became intensely paranoid. They were having delusions, they were becoming
Suicidal.
depressed and suicidal.
Yep.
So when you take a specific drug for a specific side effect, but not an intended effect, I think there's a lot of things that can go wrong. And even if you just look at the actual cost of the medication, First off, if your insurance will not cover it, you are looking upwards of anywhere from $150 to $800 a month just for these injections out of pocket. So then if you have to do that for the rest of your life, and then if you did you just get another balloon?
No, it was outside the room. It popped. Scared the hell out of me, though.
Yeah. But so if you're going to be taking this medication for the rest of your life, well, this is why they're spending less on food because now they're spending that money on medication
Yeah.
for this.
I think it's
And
borderline predatory, though, that they're starting to
very,
take things that foods that already existed, that already met a certain need, and now repurposing it and slapping a label on it. So you're like, hey, don't you want to buy this now?
well, and
But
I,
that's
I
why the
agree.
cost of,
It feels very much predatory. It feels very much because no other medication on the planet do you have labels smacked on something. Because they compared it to the labels of heart healthy. Because if you remember years ago, different cereals and grain products all of a sudden had a label that said heart healthy. Well, heart
no,
healthy can mean many different things,
right.
but when you start slapping GLP-1 friendly, well, I want to see if you're also going to market to where's the Viagra friendly? Where's the Adderall friendly? You know what I mean?
Well,
Where does it
people on
start?
heart people on heart medications can't drink grapefruit juice, but like I don't but there's nothing on grapefruit juice that says, "Hey heart people, stay away from me." Like it,
Which is interesting because there is like cough medicines. There is a specific line of cough medicine made for people with high blood pressure.
yeah,
Because if you take regular, it can up your blood pressure unexpectedly.
right.
And so I feel like I get that everybody should be able to expect products that will work for their lifestyle. And if you are a GLP-1 user and you're very busy and you don't have a whole lot of time, that you would be likely to buy convenience products because odds are good if you are overweight or obese, you already probably rely on a lot of convenience products. So you're used to being able just to pop something in the microwave and have something to eat. So by having these frozen foods or these shakes, it would make sense. But at the same token, though, there this study is showing that rather than buying convenience products, people are more likely to be buying more fruits and vegetables, more basics, and
Or just
maybe
reducing the amount they're eating.
exactly just not buying soda because I've
Yeah.
seen where a lot of people that are on these medications, just the bubbliness of soda is enough to really upset their stomach, whereas they may not have been affected by that before.
Actually, most of the people who I know who are on it still love Coke. It's
Really? I've
yeah.
seen a
Yeah, yeah,
few where
yeah.
they've switched over to like the 0 calorie. Like they
Nope. Full sugar
interesting.
Coke. It's weird.
It is.
Yeah.
But then again, too, you're going to see a lot of people that take these types of medications but don't make the lifestyle changes. So they're going to still eat the same foods, maybe in less quantities,
Yeah.
and but nothing else is going to change. And so then it's kind of like their weight kind of becomes a vanity number because I don't necessarily know because you weigh less that you instantly are healthier because studies have shown all the time that you can have people that are severely underweight that look ideal to certain standards who are actually worse off health wise than those with extremely high BMIs. Because you
Yeah.
can have a high BMI, but have low blood pressure, have good cholesterol, you know what I
Mhm.
mean, and have good lab tests. Whereas you can be super skinny and, all of your levels are just completely, just off the charts in the wrong directions.
Yeah. I've got a friend. He is a pretty skint dude, and he has genetically, he just has high cholesterol. Um, Funny enough, he went vegan and it helped. But story for another day. And then in college, like we had this health class that we were required to take, and we did like the little pinchies for like the body fat percentages. And there was a girl who was smaller frame than I was, younger than I was by about 5 years because I was non-traditional. and my body fat percentage was lower than hers by a fair amount, even though, like, appearance wise,
Visually, you would not have
she would
maybe
have
made that
looked.
connection.
Hmm.
But
So
then
you
again,
just never know.
too, it reminds me of all the weight loss surgeries,
Yeah,
gastric sleeve, the bypass, all this stuff.
yeah,
And what people don't seem to understand is this is physically changing the way that your body processes food. And so you have people that are not willing to make lifestyle changes long term, and they would have like dumping syndrome. A lot of these people that have had these surgeries, like even 10, 15 years ago, they have to take so many supplements because the food does not spend enough time in their body for them to get enough nutrients. And so you've got people who've lost, 300, 400 pounds who are basically malnourished and are starving, even though some
yeah.
of them are still pretty big. And it's because their body can no longer absorb different nutrients. And so
Right.
I'm really interested to see what long term this GLP-1 does, because is it going to affect the way that your body processes food? And if you are, by eating, it actually makes you sick, you're going to be less likely to eat. You're going to be more likely to eat foods that are more comforting. And so maybe you're not going to be eating very nutrient dense foods to begin with.
Maybe. I know that one of the side effects can be gastroparesis.
Yes, which is
Um,
where basically your like stomach stops responding to stimuli. So you're
yeah,
putting
your
food
intestinal
in your
tract.
stomach and it's just sitting there. You're not producing the correct hormones or like the bodily functions it takes to break down food.
Yeah.
And when food sits out or it sits in like a hot pool of basically acid, it
Hate
will
Satan.
literally it will break down not as waste like it should. It'll break down like food does in a compost pile where it will, yes. And so
I don't
people with
like.
gastroparesis, they have the desire to eat, they eat, but their body just won't process it. And then it can make them seriously ill to the point of sepsis. I mean, you
Yeah.
can die just because
Mhm.
it's like your stomach just forgot how to work.
Yeah.
And these are
Or
risks
it.
that you're willing to take to lose weight.
Yeah. I mean,
And then I've seen too where you the amount of your BMI is not that high in order to qualify for some of these weight loss drugs. And in fact, now there's tons of like the teledocs where you can get on a Zoom call with a quote unquote doctor, explain
yeah.
your symptoms, and then they're going to write you a prescription. I mean, is this the opioid, epidemic all over again? But now it's the GLP-1 epidemic where we're just going to
Interesting.
be offering it on street corners.
Yeah. I mean, well, part of it's already being used for off label, and the off label aspect of it is kind of the beginning. I wonder, ooh, ugh, I don't like it.
So, and then what if they find out, that this causes severe heart conditions or strokes or, seizures or something along those lines.
Or
And then
infertility.
infertility, yeah, because you've got a lot of people who are told if they lost weight that then, they would have a better chance of conceiving. And they find out, what if the long-term effects of this could affect getting pregnant or could affect your pregnancy. So I'm just
Yeah.
saying there's so many long-term effects here. I cannot see this as of right now with the information that we have. I would be terrified to take this medication. I just
Yeah.
absolutely terrified.
It, it all feels oogie to me.
It does.
That's what I'm
It
going with.
it feels
Oogie.
like, well, and especially because you see a lot of like celebrities and well-known figures that are taking it, and some of them, the comments that they get like on social media and stuff, where they're like, "Oh my God, what happened to you?" So now any celebrity that shows any type of weight loss, everyone immediately jumps onto, oh, they must have taken a GLP-1 because it's like the new celebrity thing to do. But then you have
I mean,
some that have embraced it.
yeah.
Sharon Osbourne, I'm sorry, she looks ill. She looks almost as if she has gotten cancer and that she's dying. I mean, her skin, like everything, she looks like she has aged 20 years
Mm,
since taking it.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh. So, any hoodles. Um, Good for somebody to reduce their grocery budget, but I just don't think this is the way to do it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a byproduct, definitely, of a booming business. And whether you like it or not, if you're you're a part of that business in one way or another, it's
No go for me.
yeah, same.